Have you ever prayed, really prayed, over and over with everything you had and felt nothing come back? No sign, no answer, just silence. Not peaceful silence, the kind that makes you feel invisible, like you're screaming into a void and the sky above you is just dark and empty. And somewhere in that silence, a question starts to grow. Did God abandon me? If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. A lot of Christians have been in that exact place. Faithful people, people who showed up, people who believed and still felt like no one was on the other side. And when it goes on long enough, it stops being just confusion. It becomes something that shakes the foundation of everything you thought you knew about your faith. Before I go any further, I want to say something that most Christian videos won't say. Sometimes God is silent on purpose. Not because He's punishing you, not because your faith isn't strong enough, but because there are seasons where silence itself is the answer, where He's asking you to trust Him without the reassurance, without the sign, without the feeling. Job went through it, David went through it. Even Jesus on the cross cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" So if you've already tried being still and still heard nothing, I'm not here to tell you that you weren't doing it right. Some of you are in a season that is meant to be hard, and that's not a failure of your faith. That might be the deepest form of it, but here's what I also know. For many people, the silence isn't a season. It's a signal, not that God is gone, but that the noise in their life has gotten too loud to hear Him. The Bible says, when you seek me with all your heart, you will find me. If that's true, then the question isn't whether God is answering. The question is whether you're recognizing the answer when it comes. Most of us bring a very specific picture into prayer. A clear voice, an immediate sign, something unmistakable. And when the answer doesn't come in that shape, we assume God is silent. But God usually speaks in ways that are quiet, and honestly, more ordinary than we expect. Maybe it's a verse that lands differently than it ever has before, right when you needed it most. Maybe it's a thought, gentle, not loud, not pushy, but strangely clear in a way your usual mental noise never is. Maybe it's a sudden urge to call an old friend you haven't talked to in years, and that conversation changes everything. Maybe it's a song that starts playing, and the lyrics hit you so precisely it stops you cold. Maybe it's a peace that shows up when you're moving in the right direction, or an unease you can't quite explain when you're about to make the wrong call. And maybe, just maybe, it's this video, the one you're watching right now. Think about Elijah for a second. This wasn't a weak man with weak faith. This was the guy who called down fire from heaven, and yet there he was, collapsed under a tree, telling God he was done, completely done. And when God finally showed up, it wasn't in the wind that tore the mountain apart. It wasn't in the earthquake. It wasn't in the fire. It was in a whisper. Here's what gets me every time I read that. Elijah almost missed it. After everything, after the wind and the earthquake and the fire, you have to be incredibly still to hear a whisper. And I think a lot of us are so worn out from waiting for the earthquake that we don't even notice when the whisper comes. The Bible says, "Be still and know that I am God." Not seek harder, not pray louder. Be still. Because some things can only be heard in the quiet. The reason most people can't hear isn't that God is silent. It's that their lives are too loud. Too many thoughts running at once, too much anxiety pulling them out of the moment, too many expectations about exactly how God is supposed to show up. They're waiting for the wind and the fire, while God is already speaking in the whisper. So maybe the question worth asking isn't, why isn't God answering me? But am I actually creating enough stillness to hear Him? Here's what I want to invite you to try for the next 7 days. 10 minutes a day, no phone, no background noise, read a short passage, then go quiet. This isn't a magic formula to make God appear on command. Think of it less like a hotline and more like clearing out the noise in your head so you can finally hear what's already been there. Pay attention to the small things, what shifts inside you, what shows up around you, what you've been too distracted to notice. And if you're in that season of silence I talked about, do it anyway. Not to force an answer, but to show up. Sometimes that's all faith asks of you. I know some of you are watching this with tears in your eyes right now, because this is exactly where you are. If that's you, I want you to know I see you. Drop your story in the comments below, even just a single word or a period if that's all you have. I'll be reading every single one, and I'll be praying for you by name. God isn't silent. He never has been. And even in the seasons where it feels like He is still there, closer than the silence makes you feel,